What was the first song that set the tone for the rest of the album?
It's a difficult one because I think the album has got different tones going on all the way through. Like you would think, listening to the first track, it was going to be a synth album or something. But
is that a deliberate choice?
No.
To have those different sounds, or that is just something that just happened during the process?
I just wrote different kinds of songs, you know, and I feel that I always do, but on this one it was much more extreme, and I'm okay with that. I understand that for many people they want the same thing over and over again, but I like a comprehensive album that's like got shades to it, got different kinds of shades, you know, and I don't know, I guess when I wrote Pops, I was like, I'm about to do something really different, you know, because I played it and I was like, is this me? Is this me? Am I lying to myself?
Why were you wondering if it was you?
Because it was totally different. It was a new way of writing. It was a new way of singing. But I think when you're a changing person, different things inspire your writing. And so I hadn't played piano in a long time, but I was always a person who played piano. People don't know that about me. Maybe people think it's me lying to myself, but I feel very much like I'm returning to something, you know? And it feels like I'm returning to something rather than sort of, you know, forcing something. I feel very much like, even with the keyboard stuff, like that was stuff I used to do in high school. I would make dub recordings of synths, you know? And no one knows that about my music because people know what you put out, and what you put out sort of determines what people think of your character. So when you do something, even if it's been in the past, they think it's the future. And so
yeah,
it's all really relative. I mean, it's up to the person to decide what they want about it. But to me, all of these themes that I'm doing on this current record are all things that, and themes that I am returning to. So yeah. But I did feel for a minute that because it's different, and the fear of doing something different than what's been successful on this past record, that fear sort of tried to creep in, and I was like, you know what? I'm keeping it, and I'm going with this idea. And if I want to like play more, if I want to do more experimental stuff, then I should. And if people don't like it, then they can just deal with it. They can listen to it later. They can listen to it never again. You know, like,
yeah.
I need to make it for me. And if it fails for me, that's fine. But I'm really happy that I'm at this point with my band and with these people. And when we made this record, like in Vox Studios, I was just like, this is something that's real. Like, we recorded the whole thing live. There are mistakes in it. We left them, you know? And that's not something people do anymore. They don't leave that. You can't get a guitar solo sometimes, though, that sounds that good unless there's like a live feeling. And I think, you know, the way that the music industry itself will survive is if people can play live, because you can't expect to have a livelihood with just putting out an album. You need to represent it, you need to play it, you need to show people that you can do it, that it's not just this game you played with some friends in a studio. You did it, you do it. And so for me, making a live record sort of states that in itself. And then I can continue to do that and build that. And of course it'll change even more when we play it. But playing it live in a recording, you also risk leaving those flubs and leaving the mistakes in and losing something that is supposed to be this perfect package for people. And I understand, like, I like both kinds of albums. I like the sort of planned, blocky album for certain reasons. And I like this kind of album for other reasons. And so I just thought it was my time to do that. And so when you ask about a sort of theme that is set, I guess that's one that's pretty, it just determines the way that it's sounding in general. The sound of a live record is going to determine the way it's heard because it's live. It's not this pre-planned event, you know.
So is that something you keep in mind when you make a song? Like, how will it sound live?
Yeah, because to To me, it's less about just I know the real work is actually making something that is impactful and meaningful to someone who's a complete stranger in a live setting, and you're reaching them in a totally different way, in a totally different artistic way than when you're just making a package to sell them. You are looking at this audience, and you are facing the pressures of them physically and performing this thing for them versus just, here's this thing I did with all these homies that are super cool, and then here it is, and we're gonna sell it to you, and thanks a lot, bye, like, we made it perfect. We're the best, I think that's a different kind of thing, and I like performing because it is challenging, and you don't always have friendly audiences. Sometimes you have real weird experiences. But I think even when someone's making it weird for you, it's humbling. And that's part of the whole package is putting yourself out there and seeing what happens. And sometimes people are very vocal about what they disagree with or what they see. And
does that get to you?
I think, I wouldn't say it gets to me, but I think it's part of the whole process because I myself am a critic of my own work, and I try to be as critical as possible so that I can create something that is good. And sometimes my criticism isn't enough, or sometimes I'm missing something. On the last record, to me, if I looked back at it as a critic, I liked it. And I was really proud of the writing, and the songs are there, and they're some of them are very easily digestible, but I wanted to sing more, and I'm missing my actual voice, And in order to sing a certain way, you have to write a certain kind of song.
Yeah.
You can't just. I can sing a certain way to an R&B song, or I can sing a certain way to, to a folk song or whatever. But it's not going to be. If it's my own work, it's sometimes not as easy to write that kind of song. And so it was a challenge to me to put myself through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of a hard and vague question, but when is it that you know that you've done something that's good?
I don't know. If it makes me laugh, and if I'm like when I made the video for Intern, it's not necessarily perfect, but I was like, this is funny. This is making me laugh, and I enjoyed it, But I don't think I'm a genius or anything. It's just more about if it gets stuck in my head and it's all I can think about, If it's if parts of it are stuck in my head and I just can't get them out, then I know even if I didn't like it, it's affecting me and making me think about stuff and making me think about what I want to do next. And I think even as a critic, if someone were to say they didn't like a song, but they had enough energy to even say anything about it, it's still impressive in a way, You're still getting people to think about it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the point.
And then something a little bit off topic, I found out that you also bring out cassettes.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Well, because I grew up recording on cassettes, and they're very integral to my writing process. And when I was 11.
In what way?
Well, when I was 11 or 12, I used to record on this Panasonic handheld tape recorder, and I I learned how to overdub. So I'd overdub myself singing and make harmonies or layer my voice and stuff. Way before the internet was doing the atmospheric weird stuff, I was doing it on this tape, and doing synth stuff and recording that and putting that on tape and piano, and I went from that to kind of playing folk music and playing solo stuff. And now I'm kind of revisiting it. I'm kind of back into tape and back into the idea of sort of reappreciating what's been done and what's old, and sort of being nostalgic for the past and not being afraid of being too hipster, because it's not really about being a hipster. It's about appreciating a good record and a good piece of music and a good thing that you can't just pick and choose where you start. You have to listen to the whole thing, or you have to listen to whatever's playing at that point in the tape. And I like that theme, and I like that challenge of having to be patient, even in this kind of cultural world where you're just always on your phone and you're always like, what's the next thing, you know? What's the next video? What's the next thing I can look at now? I'm so tired of this. It happened yesterday, you know? So I guess the idea of a tape to me is more of just a symbol of like that, all of those things, like just taking time to really absorb something and really hear it instead of hearing some buzzwords about it and then going to a show, you know, like really absorbing it. So, yeah.
I want to thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, sorry if I talk too much.
No. It's I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.